Nobody plans to become a security guard, but as it turns out, I'm pretty good at the job, at least for the Met. It's my responsibility to get between potential calamity and our artwork. I'm not always popular for my efforts, but I don't take my motivation from my paycheck, though I'm not about to do the job for free, nor is it as a company man, regardless of my pride of association with the institution. No, I work for Rembrandt van Rijn and Georgia O'Keeffe, and I especially work for Unknown. I hope that someone will strike a balance between sharing and protecting any such manifestations of my soul that should survive beyond my lifespan and even beyond my name. That's the standard to which I answer. This sense of obligation did not originate in anything so austere as the Western canon, but instead from a cultural moment of inspiration from 1984, which would color the rest of my life.
From days of long ago, from uncharted regions of the universe, comes a legend. The legend of Voltron, defender of the universe. A mighty robot, loved by good, feared by evil.
Hyakuju o Gorion, or King of Beasts Golion, may well have been the least successful of the wave of Japanese animes about robots combining into larger robots. But when it was brought to the West, it became a phenomenon as Voltron, Defender of the Universe. Like most cartoons of its time, it used every crayon from a very small box, but it didn't look like anything we had at the time. It was a knight made out of Skittle kitty cats. It was rainbow bright with a sword. What was there not to love in a sensitively heteronormative way? Voltron itself is not exactly a character so much as a glorified vehicle. Without its pilots, it's inert. It does not speak, it has no arc. It is focused, righteous will without personality. It was power. It was grace. It was mystery. This was my icon of the Godhead. There's a symmetry in having chosen this shapeshifter as my touchstone when my own life went into such flux. After prospering through first grade, I was yanked out of public school and slapped into the nearest elite private boys' school, an expense we couldn't actually justify without certain lifestyle downgrades that my mother rejected. So, by Thanksgiving of that year, she found an alcoholic sugar daddy to foot the bills, and the mood at home very quickly darkened. I was accused of all manner of punishable offenses, punishment more often than not meaning sustained physical abuse. Though my mother initially protested, she soon came to accept that her children's comfort was a fair trade for her own. My new classmates were more hostile, gung-ho, and jaded to the juvenilia which dazzled me. One little con artist showed me a photo of a airplane cockpit and swore he was building a real Voltron. I took the bait eagerly. I wrote to President Ronald Reagan offering our Voltron as part of the Strategic Defense Initiative, his Star Wars plan. I never heard back. The con artist invited me over, claiming that the blueprints to Voltron were located at the end of a game on his mother's computer. It quickly dawned on me that he was dying intentionally and we were never going to see the end. When my mother came to claim me, I burst into tears. I had no place at home. I had no place amongst my peers. I was abandoned. I was lost. I was a spiritual orphan. I don't tell you this for your pity. There are far too many children who have a far rougher time of it than I ever did. We all have our tragedies. This just happens to be mine. One evening after a thrashing, I went to bed exhausted and terrified, not wanting to live another day that way. Sometime after midnight, I sat up in bed and looked out the window, and there was Voltron, illuminated by the lights on the street below and by the crackling, fluorescent glow of his trademark blazing sword. In that moment, I knew that his name was not Voltron, nor was it Golion. His true name was the Defender. He beckoned to me wordlessly, but I was frightened, and soon enough, he turned and strode into the night. Of course, that was a dream. But it was a dream that allowed me to believe that something out there had my back, no matter how bad things got, and loved me the way that I needed to be. This idea of Voltron as my personal savior never fully went away, it just kind of faded into the background. I've had other obsessions. Epiphanies are where you find them. But this was most sincere, like Linus waiting for the great pumpkin. As an adult, I have revisited the series, and I have to say that Voltron is not a very good cartoon, even for its time. But in the 7 years in which I have worked for the Metropolitan, the collection has allowed certain vague impressions I've held for decades to crystallize into a fuller concept of what the Defender is, theologically speaking. I'm not the first to think along these lines. Even last year's official 30th anniversary book made the same first association I had. Hercules! Well, yeah, okay, that's a gimme. The half-man, half-god is the archetype for every seemingly indomitable hero who has come since. Yet, how many of those hearken to the first of his famous 10 labors? An evil king, much like the king Zarkon who tasks Voltron, assigned Hercules to kill the Nemean lion with the impenetrable hide which he then wore as a cape, the lion's face resting above his own. Yet Hercules is a quixotic figure, genuine but full of folly, so he could only represent one aspect of what it was that the Defender meant to me. Voltron has a regal reliability as a go-to guardian. For that, we look to Hindu mythology. Of the Brahmanic trio, it is Vishnu who protects his brother Krishna's creation from their other brother Shiva's destruction. Blue-skinned and sporting a third eye, he carries a club, like Hercules, but also a chakram war disc, like Voltron's spinning laser blade. Vishnu also has a lion-headed avatar named Narasimha, who lives for karmic comeuppance. Across the Abrahamic faiths, Saint Michael is the brigadier general of the heavenly host, clad in armor from God's armory and wielding a sword ready to strike down the form of evil, much as Voltron must every episode. He is depicted the same way every image you see of him. Saint Michael is associated with chivalry and is considered patron saint of professions of protection, including security guards. Nobody plans to become a security guard. It's disillusioning work. I am happy to have this job. I would be happy to have certain others. For you see, I too am a chimera of parts, while it is my honor to protect a legacy for posterity. It is my joy to make children laugh. I never could have predicted how my history and personality would combine alchemically just right enough. Like 5 robot lions combining to form a rough humanoid, so too am I a man in this role. My reverence for the Defender is honest. This is not history, it's not prophecy, it's not even a metaphor for the now. It's everything I say it is for me alone, and otherwise nothing at all. I'm not evangelizing, because I'm not starting a church or a cult over a trifle. In its way, it is almost perfectly Zen, negating even itself. Yet, it also dignifies who I was back then by continuing to love that lifeline, and in some small way, becoming who it was that I needed at the time. You could argue that perhaps I have patterned myself after my hero, but I rather think that everyone I've ever been and everyone I will be all meet in the same room at the same time. Here I am, 30 years in the future, looking back into my bedroom window and beckoning to myself to follow me forward to where I stand on post between galleries. I am the defender. Forward, blazing